Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grassroots Racer. Just before we get started, I'd like to quickly shout out to the Bendigo Car Club on Saturday, the 15th of April at Huntley, Sale Yards, Bendigo. Free of charge, there will be a ladies' race event. So it's open to any females aged 12 and up to learn everything they need to know about motorsport and to get, supportive and inclusive help from, the rest of the club. So what they're trying to do is it's from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and it's going to be for the ladies out there who want to try some motorsport. You can go out there free of charge, and just have some fun. Honestly, you can learn how to, go through the cones like we do at Motorcana. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be an introduction to motorsport, and then you'll slowly progress up from, doing Motorcanas, and then hopefully you'll be able to do super sprints later on. So this is going to be a really exciting event. So make sure you check it out. It's the Bendigo Car Club. But for more information and how to register, head to racechicks.com.au. So that's racechix.com.au. So that's where you'll find all the information if you need it. And it'll be great to see some of you ladies out there. Enjoy this episode of Grassroots Racer, guys. Hi, everyone. I'm really looking forward to tonight's chat as like a few people I've had on the show, tonight's guest has grown up around motorsport as a third generation racer. And, he is really making a name for himself. Having raced in Porsche GT3 Challenge, production cars, Toyota 86, TA2 and Trans Am. He's already had a couple Bathurst starts, and now it won't be long until we see him in a main game supercar seat. And I really hope we do, because like his father, he is a brilliant racer. So to find out more about his racing journey and how he's progressed so far, I welcome Aaron Seton to the show. How are you tonight, Aaron?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great, and it's probably something you get asked quite often. And a lot of the viewers would know who your dad and grandfather are. Was seeing him involved in motorsport from a young age, did that really spark and start your passion for motorsport?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was fortunate to go to the racetrack for the first time when I was 3 months old. Bathurst in '98 was my first race, and yeah, it was pretty special growing up around the racetracks. Obviously, I'm in a fortunate position where I got to see a lot of behind the scenes stuff and really see a lot of different aspects of motorsport, I guess, that people don't get to see very often. And yeah, super fortunate to be around that and develop a passion from that from such a young age, and then started in go-karts at 7, and it was finally my turn to have a go, and loved it ever since. So now 24. So yeah, just grateful for the cars that I've been able to drive, and looking forward to seeing what the future holds as well.
Yeah, definitely. And karting is a great tool to start out your racing. Do you think karting gave you a really good foundation, to learn what what cars can be like in racecraft, etc.?
Yeah, definitely. Karting's very good for developing that racecraft. Obviously, you're racing so close with the guys next to you. And not just that, the technical side of motorsport as well. Obviously, you can change so much on a go-kart, and slight changes can just put the kart just outside the setup window, and it's good for a young driver to feel that and develop that understanding, because it helps you so much as a driver as you go through the different ranks, because obviously you don't get a lot of on-track sessions at a supercar race meeting, so you got to try and get to the optimum setup as quick as you can, and the guys who have that technical understanding to be able to develop the car as quick as they can, it definitely rewards those guys across the weekend. And it's definitely the best way to start in racing is in go-karts, and it's such a good development tool. Now I use it a little bit for fitness as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard on the neck, especially if you've driven tracks like the older layout of Oakley. That can be really hard on the neck. I remember vividly.
Yeah, actually, my home club's Ipswich, so it's more hard on the ribs is the one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember from when I did go-karting, it was a lot of rib pain, sometimes even around the fuel tank, rubbing up against the
Yep.
fuel tank, and the neck
Yep.
pain.
Inside of your knees.
Yeah. Obviously, you did progress into cars after a while. Can you tell me about the progression and what was the first car you raced in?
Yeah, so I started in cars at 15. The first car I drove was a Mitsubishi Evo 10 production car. So that was owned by Bob Pearson, and it was product down the side of the cars. So Dad had driven with Bob a couple of times at what was the Bathurst 12-hour, which is now the Bathurst 6-hour production car race. So I got the opportunity to do quite a few test days around Eastern Creek and Wakefield Park in that car when I was 15. And as soon as I turned 16, I was able to race in New South Wales in that car. So I started in the New South Wales State Series of production cars, as well as the AM Champs, it used to be called, which is basically the Australian Manufacturers Championship.
Oh, okay.
And so I went sort of and did the final rounds of those starting in July from when I turned 16. So was able to start off strong because I'd done quite a few test days in the car prior to it and felt comfortable. And yeah, I really love driving that type of car, obviously being four-wheel drive, and it's just so much fun to drive, especially in the wet.
Yeah, one thing I forgot about in New South Wales, and I think sometimes even in Queensland, the rules are a bit different where you can't race until you're 16 on most of the tracks like Eastern Creek and Bathurst. So it definitely would have been tricky having to wait a year. And like myself, I was born in June and you're in July, so being in the middle of the year is a bit tricky as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think New South Wales is the last state now that you got to wait till you're 16. But yeah, all other states are around that 14, 15. So, but I think it was the right timing for me. Race cuts, so I was 15, and I think all the transition worked well.
So I was able to step up into superkarting at age 12, which I believe really helped me. You said that though you jumped into a car at 15 years old, which you believe was the right choice for you. So you did a bit of 86 racing as well. What was that category like to learn in? Because the cars are very production based, so it would have been very close to wheel racing.
Yeah, 86 series was great. Obviously, what Toyota's done there has been fantastic for grassroots running sport, making that step for kids easier from karts to cars. Just being able to be on the supercars calendar helps so much in learning those sorts of tracks and being in front of the right people and being able to attract sponsors with the right TV deal through the series. So yeah, I think it's a great category for any young kids looking for somewhere to step after karts.
And you do obviously recommend it. What do you think about where they go to and how they run under supercars as a support category? What do you think about all that?
I actually haven't seen their full calendar for this year. I believe they start in Townsville, and are they 5 rounds? I think.
I think so. Five or
Um,
six.
to be honest, I only know that they go to Townsville. I'd imagine they'd be at Bathurst, Sandown, and a few other events like that. So I actually haven't looked into it too much about where they're going to be honest.
Yeah, Toyota 86 is a really great category, I do believe, for kids about my age, so about 15, 16 years old, trying to move up in the motorsport ranks. When you did it, do you have a favorite race that you remember?
I had a good fun race with Will Brown and Cameron Hill, who who I've raced sort of all the way through from karts to cars now at Eastern Creek. I can't remember. I think it was the first year, would have been 2016. That was probably one of my favourites.
Hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened in the race?
Oh, my memory's not that great, to be honest, on what happened. I just remember that it was very close racing, and obviously being such a long straight at Eastern Creek, it was just pretty much drafting the whole way and swapping positions every lap. So it was good fun.
Yeah,
I
well,
can't exactly remember where we all finished, to be honest. It's very vague. But yeah, just remember how much fun the racing was and how good the series was for developing that racecraft in the car.
well, you definitely weren't wrong about saying they do go to Townsville this year. I've just had a look. They raced 6 times, so they've got the series launch, which is at Sydney Motorsport Park. Then they head off to Townsville. Then they head back to Sydney Motorsport Park. Then they'll be off to the Bend, Sandown, and last of all, Mount Panorama.
Yeah, it's a good
So
little calendar for them. So it's great tracks for young kids to go and have a go at. Obviously, the bend's quite a difficult one because there's so many undulation changes and it's such a long circuit to learn. So yeah, there's no better tracks than those for the series to go to.
Yeah, and also Toyota 86 this year have launched a new scholarship program, which is where they run the old gen cars. Um, and if you finish, I think, in the top 10, then you're allowed to race in the national series. What do you think about that? Do you think it's a good way to maybe let some of the more talented guys have a bit of a go?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great initiative for the series to run. Obviously, the last few years, it's been hard for young guys to get a start in the series because they're always oversubscribed. So it's a great initiative run by Toyota to try and make a fair way, I guess, of getting or earning your spot in the series, in the main series, and also developing guys to get them ready for the main series. So yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, well, I certainly like it. I do have another question though, a little bit unrelated to what we're just talking about. You've raced at Bathurst multiple times. Have you got any huge highlights from there? Any highs or, unfortunately, any lows?
Yeah, absolutely. Bathurst is a pretty special place, and definitely my highlight was racing last year in the 1000 Jackalbrook. I mean, it was pretty special being there on the grid, especially with my family history at the race, being the first third generation racer to do the Bathurst 1000 was pretty special, and there's definitely some tears on the grid. It was a very cool moment. And with anything, when there's highs, there's going to be lows. So yeah, I've made a couple of mistakes at Bathurst before. Obviously, made a mistake on the I think it was Friday or the Saturday.
Yep.
I think it was Saturday actually. Practice 5 in the morning. In the wet, I just locked that inside wheel going over Skyline, and unfortunately had a crash. But we all got it all fixed up, good to go for the race. So yeah, it's with anything where you're trying your hardest, it's just one little mistake. So easy to happen. At the end of the day, everyone's out there doing their best, and without the highs, you can't get the highs without the lows.
Definitely. And being someone in your position, I know you probably can't answer this yet, so I do hope to see you back at the 1000. Are you planning on racing there this year in development series at least?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm locked in for the full year with Gomersall Motorsport in Super 2. So our next rounds, which will be round 2, is Perth. Then we go to Townsville, Sandown, Bathurst, and then finish at Adelaide. So yeah, I'll definitely be at Bathurst in Super 2, and yet to be determined. Definitely working on being there again in the 1000.
As a Super 2 driver, what are your goals for this season? Are you planning to go all out and win the championship, or just prove to a supercars team that you're good enough to, bring some points home so you can, make a full-time seat next year?
Definitely, the goal is to win the Super 2 championship this year. We've got the right pieces in the right places to be able to do so. We did struggle a little bit at Newcastle, but I believe that we'll come out strong in Perth. So looking forward to getting to that event. And it's a place that I've driven before and I enjoyed there last year, and we had a little bit of pace there. So looking forward to definitely getting back there. And the aim definitely this year is just fully focused on Super 2. You can't control if seats open up or not next year in main game. So yeah, fully focused on the job at hand, and we'll see what next year brings when that comes.
That's definitely a great mindset to think about it. And you were talking about Newcastle just before as well. Some of the drivers in main game were having a little bit of troubles with getting hot in the car and stuff. Was the conditions pretty bad at Newcastle for, I guess, humidity and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was definitely a warm event. But I guess the cooling systems and the cars that we run in Super 2 are all tried and tested. So it's sort of nothing different than what I've ran in the VF from last year. Sort of very similar cool box, everything like that. So that was all sort of I knew what to expect. Obviously, with Gen 3, by the sounds, the cabin temperatures are quite bad, and the seating position's different. Obviously, guys like Shane and stuff like that, their feet are so close to or pretty much on the firewall. because they're such tall guys, and it's just making cabin temperatures incredibly hot. So I don't know. I guess I can't really comment too much on it because I've never driven one of what they're like. But yeah, just based on what I'm hearing, it's definitely a more of a challenge for the Gen 3 cars than the Gen 2 cars.
Well, definitely last year you drove the Gen 2s at the Bathurst 1000 as a co-driver. You know, some people don't really know how physical it is. How bad was it in the cockpit? Like, obviously you had the cool suit and you've got your cooling systems, but what about in the pedal box where I'm guessing there wouldn't be much cooling going on?
Yeah, we definitely have to run a ducting tube that gets air straight from the side window down to the brake pedal is the main one. Just because it's so close to the firewall, or obviously all the heat from the engine just absorbs straight into the pedal. So yeah, definitely there's constant cool air blowing on there to make sure that you're not blistering your feet or anything like that, and making sure that you can be as consistent as possible over the race distance. Definitely for events like Adelaide at the end of the year or Newcastle at the start of the year in those hotter months is much more difficult physically on your body than the events in the middle of the year like Bathurst in October or any of them sort of throughout winter. So it's usually about, to give a rough number, about 30 degrees above the day temperature in the cars.
Yeah, that's incredible. And a previous guest told
Yeah,
me,
it can get pretty physical sometimes.
yeah, I've had a previous guest on here and he was telling me that, you do want to be physically strong and you want to have as much mental capacity as you can while racing. So if you're cool and you're fit, so your body's not focusing on you're weak, like not being able to grab the steering wheel. Sorry, it's a bit hard to explain, but he was pretty much saying that you want to be strong because you want to leave your mind to only think about the race and have big mental
Yeah.
capacity. So would something like that be really important for Bathurst where you've got the walls right there and you've got to drive your sometimes 2 hour stint?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you want to have as much spare mental capacity as possible to be able to map out what your next moves are to pass the guy in front or get the most out of the car. Definitely the guys like you see Shane out there, he has incredible racecraft and he can get the most out of the car using maybe like 70% of his brain power, and then he's got 30% to think about what what his next move is, and it's just incredible to watch a guy like that at the top of his game, just being able to put the car wherever and outrace the guys like he does. It's very impressive to watch, and definitely you try and study him as much as possible to be able to replicate what he does.
So in terms of someone you'd look up to, do you think you'd look up to someone like SVG?
Absolutely, he's the best guy out there at the moment. Without doubt, his driving is incredible, and I'm in a T8 car, so it's very much focused around his kind of style, and I'm looking to adopt that to try and to work well with the car. So it's definitely the right person to watch and learn from.
So you're saying, your car handles similar to what his may handle like. What's something that, you really take from him that you've been able to implement into your racing?
Just his ability in braking. It's just so impressive to watch. He just can. It's hard to explain because it's such a unique style, but he can just get in so late under brakes and still get the car turned. It's impressive looking at his data and watching how he does it. I think is the biggest thing.
And it would definitely be important because in a supercar, because you don't have ABS, traction control, you got no assistance. So you can't turn and brake at the same time because if you turn the steering wheel and brake, you're going to have inside lock, which will ruin your tires for the race.
Yeah, definitely.
But moving on to a bit of a different subject, in 2019, you were the BMW Junior. You were a BMW Junior shootout finalist in Germany. Can you tell me what that was like? And being on, I believe it was a sim race. How different is it to the real world stuff?
Yeah, it was a pretty cool opportunity. Um, I did the 2018 Bathurst 12 hour in a BMW GT4 car with Tony Longhurst's team from the Boatworks. And yeah, through that, just over the year following, I just kept in touch with the head of BMW Motorsport in Germany. And 2 weeks before it, I had no idea what was coming and got a phone call, and they said, "Oh, can you get over here in 2 weeks for the junior shootout?" And definitely grabbed it with both hands, and it was pretty cool because it was my first overseas trip. So I got to go over to Munich, check out. So I went over a few days early just to try and get into the time zone and stuff like that. Because obviously, you get over there and you're wide awake in the middle of the night and trying not to sleep during the day. But yeah, just once I got settled in there, did a few tours of like the BMW museum and stuff like that with all the guys, and it was pretty cool. And then we got into the fitness stuff. So they did a lot of physical and mental training. Sorry, not training, testing to see where you're at, and a few different media tasks and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. And then got into the driving part, and they did it all in their Formula E sim. So there was 4 of us there going for the final spot, which was a drive as a fully factory driver. So it's definitely a experience that I'll cherish forever, and really enjoyed it and learnt so much.
Yeah, definitely. And having an opportunity like that to go to Germany would be pretty awesome. I know you probably weren't there for too long, but did you pick up any German?
No, no, definitely didn't. I was trying to watch the TV, but just could not understand a word. That's for sure. So yeah, no, I was there for 2 weeks, and sort of in that first week was the BMW experience I did there with the shootout, and then the second week I just did a little bit of traveling around Munich and the bottom of Germany and into Austria, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, did you visit any tracks like the Nürburgring?
No, because that's actually at the up north in Germany.
Oh, right.
So yeah, it was just a bit too far for me to travel. But yeah, definitely like to get back over there one day and have a look at Spa and Nürburgring and whatnot in Belgium. Obviously Spa's Belgium, and then northern Germany's Nürburgring and a few different tracks like that.
Yeah, I don't think there would be anything because you've got Munich. Oh, so yeah, that's at the bottom of Germany. And you've got Nürburgring at the top, near the top-ish, and so Spa's near the bottom of Belgium. So yeah, would there be any other tracks around? I don't really think so. Those would probably be the two
Um,
closest.
yeah, to be honest, I don't really know the locations of tracks over there that well.
Mm.
But obviously, you want to go look at the key tracks like your Spas, your Nürburgrings, and Monaco and stuff like that, just to go and experience and see what they're like. You get to see some pretty cool spectacles of those tracks on TV. So yeah, it'd be pretty cool to drive those one day. That's for sure.
Yeah, and obviously, you were driving on the simulator. Do you? Lots of people say the simulator doesn't feel real, and I agree because you don't really have that feeling of when you turn a corner, your body shifting, even if your body doesn't physically move, your insides do. Do you think it has helped you, with your real life racing?
Yeah, definitely. Sim racing is good for training your focus over a long period of time. I agree. It's difficult to translate your driving technique from the sim to the real thing. But definitely for training focus and being consistent over a race run, it's very good for that.
Yeah, I have to agree. One thing I do think it does, like you said, it helps with your focus, but it makes a consistent driver too. So you've got people like Brody Kostecki. He was a sim racer, and when you see him in a car, he is really consistent. So I do think there's lots of benefits to sim racing, but it is hard to apply uh, to each other. You can't drive a real car and then get off and put the exact same technique into a sim, and you can't do a sim and put the exact same technique into real life.
Yeah, yeah, but there's like you said, there's a few strong sim racers out there that are doing really well, like the Brodies and Shane and Scott McLaughlin used to be pretty good on a sim too. So yeah, definitely all those guys are on them.
You also raced TA2/Trans Am for a while. What do you like about those categories?
Just how basic the racing is in TA2, just um, very simplified cars, but great for teaching you a driving style of like a supercar where they're quite heavy cars, got plenty of grunt. You got to look after a tire over a race distance. It's good fun racing. I love the TA2 class. I did it for 4 years, and yeah, it's definitely, I think, being the category that I grew the most in as a driver. It taught me so much, and yeah, I would recommend that category to anyone.
Yeah, I was actually watching the T82s on the weekend at Winton. Very great racing, even though they're a big car. I guess in a way, if you have big enough balls, you can send it down the inside of someone and still pull it up. They look like brilliant cars to drive.
Yeah, they are good fun. It's yeah, it's the car that I really enjoyed driving, especially on a green tire in qualifying. They felt awesome, and yeah, I loved my years in the category, and would definitely go back there one day.
How quickly would you burn for a set of tires?
Depends how hard or how you drove the car. Not necessarily. I shouldn't say how hard, how you drove the car, because you could be smooth or you could be more aggressive, and that would depend on how long your tire would last. So yeah, it's a hard question because it depends on the circuit and day temperature and so many different variables, I guess. Um, if that makes sense.
That's fair enough. Would you say though that you've got a new tire for every race, or just for new one for quali and then new one for one race and then use it for all the others?
So what we used to do in Trans Am was you got 4 green tires to use for the weekend from qualifying and your 3 races, with 2 spare previously marked used tires. So your 4 green ones from your round one. When you go to round two, usually you'd pick the 2 best ones out of that for your previously marked and get 4 green again.
And how was that done? Was it a series rule, or was it just sort of a thing that most teams applied?
No, so that was a series rule. Yeah, so that was part of I guess maintaining costs and keeping them down. Which yeah, I thought it was a great initiative.
Now, what do you reckon your favorite track was to drive the T82s around? Because there are a lot of different circuits in Australia, and they all seem pretty interesting to race a Trans Am on.
Absolutely Bathurst. I think any car around Bathurst is the best. And then probably second would be Phillip Island. That was a pretty cool track to drive a TA2 at. Just yeah, the high speeds and the commitment required at both those tracks is it's a big adrenaline rush, and yeah, you definitely get so much joy driving the cars there.
I can definitely I could definitely say that would be a good number one choice, but I personally haven't been to Bathurst yet. As soon as I do though, I might be able to relate to some people. But you raced Trans Am for 4 years, and now we currently see you in Super 2, and it obviously is a really competitive field of drivers this year. How do you think you will go personally?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Obviously, it's like you said, it's a competitive field. But yeah, I have the confidence in myself that we can win the championship this year. So that's what I'll be aiming for, and we'll see how we go. So I'm looking forward to that challenge and trying to get the most out of myself to get our car to the front.
Yeah, so I did mention earlier that you were wanting to win the Super 2 championship this year. Uh, is there anyone, who you think you'll have a really good battle with for the championship fight? Or it could be anyone.
Could be anyone. Obviously, the field's so competitive this year, but if you look after round one, obviously Zach Best is driving really well at the moment, and same with Cooper Murray and quite a few of those guys at the front there. So it's definitely no easy task, and I'm looking forward to the challenge at the following 5 rounds to get our car to the front and yeah, do the best that I can and see where we end up at the end of the year.
Well, that's obviously a great goal. And it's, I guess it'd been pretty cool to have your dad around for advice and help, as he knows what it's like to be a racer. What's the best advice that he's given you? And did you listen to it? Because my dad tells me plenty of stuff, but it's not until someone else tells me sometimes until I take it on board.
Yeah, no, he's awesome to have around. Obviously, he's got so much experience and did so well as a driver himself, and knows what he's talking about. He's won championships before, and you can't argue with the facts that he was a great driver. So he's definitely taught me so much as a racer. And the number one thing is the tires only got 100% grip in one direction. So if you're trying to turn the corner at 50% grip, you've only got 50% to try and put the throttle down. So it's just, yeah, little things like that, little bits of advice that definitely have helped me so much as a driver that he's given. And yeah, just there's no one better to have in your corner than Dad.
Yeah, I know my dad was definitely a huge fan of your dad, and I can tell you he was very he didn't like how Glenn was very unfortunate at Mount Panorama. He was really hoping that he'd win because my dad is a true blue Ford fan. So, whenever he saw a Ford up the front, he was definitely going for him. But he did tell me that he is a fan of your dad. I do remember that.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's funny. He obviously came so close in '95. Blew up the engine with I think it was 7 laps to go or 9 laps to go, something like that. But it's amazing the amount of people that come up to him now and say, "Oh, I wished you'd won the race back in '95." Then probably the amount of people that if he had won it would have come up and said congratulations for winning it. So it's almost funny that such a hard moment like that is almost remembered more than if he had won it.
That's true.
Yeah, it's strange, but yeah, it's I guess pretty special to be able to sit back and see how many people sort of were supporting him at that time. It's just unbelievable the amount of people that come up and say that to him, and yeah, from my point of view, I think that's pretty special that he had so many supporters and people that just wanted him to do well.
Definitely. And we were talking about your dad giving advice to you. What advice would you give to young racers looking to progress in their motorsport career? You did give us a little snippet before, but what's the main piece of advice you'd give?
It's definitely a hard road, and yeah, commit as much energy and time into it as you can. The more types of cars that you can get experience in, the better. It helps you adapt so much as a driver and be able to develop so much faster. Yeah, it's a hard one to be put on the spot with because there's so many bits of advice I guess that I've learned over the years. Yeah, probably the biggest one is just try and get as many different cars as you can, and get experience in lots of different driving styles and stuff like that. Like I did a little bit of speedway as well, and a few different things like that. It's just the constant changing surface in dirt tests you and challenge you. Like it can be different lap to lap, and certainly race to race over the night. So it definitely makes you develop real quick as a driver.
Yeah, and you also have a membership program where you can get your name on your car, amongst other things. Can you tell me more about what that membership is?
Yeah, absolutely. We started an initiative this year where there's a space on the boot lid to get 2023 members of Aaron Seton Racing on board, and so at this stage we're just doing personal names, so no business names, and we're up to 41 members now. So my goal was 100 by the end of the year, so we're almost halfway there already after one event, which is pretty special. So yeah, members will get their name on the boot lid, a hat and a signed driver's card, and a introduction email and letter, and monthly updates of what I've been up to with getting the cars ready and stuff like that, because I look after the mechanical side of my car from between events. So that definitely keeps me busy between that and training and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a pretty special initiative that it's been cool to get some people on board. So yeah, if anyone's keen, there's a link in my Instagram bio to be able to get your membership and get your name on the boot lid of my car for this year.
And where can the viewers find you on your social medias if they are looking?
So my Instagram is Aaron Seton, so AaronSeton, or my Facebook page is Aaron Seton Racing.
Cool. And who are your current partners this year?
So my major partner is SS Signs on the side of my car. And then I've got Air Control, Van IT, iSeek, JT Electrical, Megalife Batteries, Castrol, Hillman's Transport, TIFS, Pitman Trucks, Water Towing, Unit, PVS Performance Tuning, Monkey Linings, McQueen Electrical, GI Diecast Models, Autosport, and OMP. I hope I've got everyone. I think that's everyone. Oh, Skyfleet Motors. Yeah, just want to make sure a massive shout out to all those guys. Obviously, I couldn't do what I do without them, and they've been such a loyal supporter over the years, and they've backed me for a number of years now. So, yeah, just looking forward to hopefully do them proud this year, and just thank them for their support. It's pretty cool to have them on board and sharing the journey with me.
Yeah, and well, I can't thank you enough, Aaron, for speaking to me tonight. Like I said earlier, I think the future is really looking good for you, and can't wait to keep following your progress in Super 2. And I hope you have a really successful year because your goals are to win the Super 2 championship, and I'd really like to see you succeed. So it has been a pleasure meeting you and hearing about your motorsport journey so far. And it'd be great if you could say hi to your dad for me, and it'd be great if I could catch up with you at the track one day. Not sure what rounds, but if I get to any supercar rounds, I'll see if I can pop over and say hi.
But yeah, definitely if you come to any of the Super 2 rounds, yeah, come and say hello.
Cool. And to anyone else getting on track this weekend, hope you have a great time and remember to drive fast and take chances. Thanks so much, Aaron.
Thank you.